What's going on, YouTube? We are going to review Color Out of Space. Now, another movie review from I Watch More Movies Than You, and that's a challenge. We're going to get into H.P. Lovecraft. Okay, he's influenced probably every bit of horror you've ever consumed in one way or another. And I was extremely excited at the opportunity to see director Richard Stanley's take on an actual H.P. Lovecraft short story, The Color Out of Space, written in March of 1927. And I nerd out for any chance to consume cosmic horror. That's one of my favorite genres, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the video as to why and what makes it so special. But with cosmic horror, it's a tough genre to nail. But when it's done, when it lands, it's truly an unforgettable experience. Now, this movie also had one of the best posters I've ever seen. The colors, which makes sense. The graphic design behind it, it's gorgeous. Pinks and purples, it's unbelievable. It's a very pretty poster, and I'm a sucker for a cool movie poster. So, the opening scene in this film, okay, it made me feel like I was kind of watching this 80s style cult movie, even Princess Bride-esque, because you're open with this beautiful horse, this white horse at a waterside, like deep in a forest. And this young girl, Lavinia, played fantastically by Madeleine Arthur. And she's performing this witchy seance of sorts. And within this spell she's doing, this incantation, you find out her mother's sick. And during all of this, an onlooker comes through the forest named Ward, played by Elliot Knight. Now, he walks up and startles her while she's in the middle of her spell or prayer. But then she starts off a little mad, but then he disarms her. And they're kind of meet cute by saying, "Was that Alexandrian or Wiccan?" And she quizzes him saying, "Do you know? You should know." And he goes, "Alexandrian." So she immediately brightens up, and you got your meet cute. Now, we're then introduced to the stoner brother in this film. I love that you're hearing the text too. That's fine. We'll just keep it in there. We're learning and getting better, and I don't even want to fidget with that. So you're introduced to the stoner brother, Benny, played by Brendan Meyer. Love his performance, by the way. And then the infamous Nicolas Cage as Pops. He's the dad. And then you get also introduced to his wife, Teresa, played by Jolie Richardson. But the scene stealer, honestly, is we're introduced to this family out in the sticks in New England area, is the house itself. It is a beautiful, beautiful farmhouse. I mean, it's gorgeous architecture. You'll see what I mean. So the guy that startled her, to go back to that Ward, he's introduced to the family as well. Now, he's a hydrologist. He's there to study the water and do reports on the water. Is there, toxin levels, things of that nature, hydrologist stuff. So then Ward comes to the house too. And then after introduced to the family, Benny takes him to the crazy neighbor that lives on the back of the property. Cool shack. So it's the crazy neighbor at this awesome shack in the back of the property, played by the legendary Tommy Chong. Did I say that right? Yes. Sure. Tommy Chong. Cheech and Chong. I'll probably edit that out, or not. Who knows? I'm self-deprecating. And then, so Benny takes Ward back for an introduction to Tommy Chong's character, who's like this hippie / far out dude, conspiracy theory, but he's super lovable too. He's one of the coolest characters in the entire movie. And besides the alpacas on the property, one of the more unique aspects of just the characters we get to come to know through what's coming. Now, then, so he's like, an off-the-grid guy. And the family, by the way, is the gardeners. And it's kind of like behind their property. Then outer space attacks. In the form of a meteorite landing in the front yard of the gardeners. And the entire family, when it happens, experience this huge burst of color and sound and deafening, and it fills the entire house with like this cosmic purples and pinks and blues, and unlike anything I've seen in a movie. It's awesome. It's a really cool scene. And Mr. Gardner, then of course the news comes out. Mr. Gardner tries to describe it. Meteorite stays hot, which is odd. And he said he originally called it pink, but he said no, it's not. It's really a color he's never seen before. He's never experienced. So slowly but surely, everything starts to change in this beautiful New England estate. The tension starts to build right away because whatever's happening affects people in different ways and in different conjectures in time. Even attacking their senses and what they see and perceive as real. And so if you're kind of at a different stage in that, it's going to be some tension because you're like, oh, you're nuts. But it starts to build right away, and it slowly grows on this family, this beautiful family, into outright delirium. And it comes for different characters at different times, makes the moments between the family all the more insane and enigmatic. It's just every sense you have gets betrayed. You're thrown into what can only be described as DMT-fueled acid trip, which I know those are hallucinogenic trip. We'll go there. Those are, which is the second and third act of this movie. It's a wild, wild trip. There's a sweeping delirium thrown on this undeserving family, and everything is beautiful and colorful. And everything that is beautiful in our world is magnified to almost a degree of insanity, an alien degree. It's made deadly, and slowly but surely, this out of this world entity takes root in the family and their surroundings. And it brings with it some of the craziest body horror you're going to ever see. And that in itself, the body horror and the creatures and different things you get exposed to in this film, worth the price of admission. We got this for a couple bucks. I rented it on Amazon. But it's very reminiscent of John Carpenter's The Thing. And you'll see what I mean. I don't want to give too much away, but these grotesque monstrosities crawl right out of H.P. Lovecraft's mind and onto your screen and into yours. You won't soon forget what you see in this movie. It'll stick with you. And it's quite the nod to the special effects crew, top to bottom in this movie. They outdid themselves. And the actors do an incredible job of reacting to these unhuman things as if they're really right in front of them, making it all the more believable. Now, cosmic horror resonates with me in a very special way, in a way that any other subgenre of the genre of the horror film does. And I've always been contemplative as to why I've explored that, and maybe because I'm a psychopath. But every time I've thought about it, I'm left with really one word: irreverence. These mysterious but all too real threats in these cosmic horror movies and stories that come from the final frontier couldn't care less about the havoc they wreak on so many lives and on our planet. The lives they end and the minds they dismantle. They're indifferent. And then in some stories, they just leave. And you're left with the hardest question known to man and woman. Why? Color Out of Space is worth the watch. I rented it, like I said, for like $2.99 on Amazon. And I say this because it's a very entertaining movie. But more so because it's incredibly unique. This makes it stand apart from its contemporaries. Give your mind this experience, these colors, these feelings, this trip, and let me know what you think below. And I'm sure it isn't for everyone. And I'd even say it's good, not great. But as far as a general analysis of the film, but it's just so foreign to Earth. It's just so foreign to movies. And it's a beautiful adaptation of an old story from one of the horror greats. And you've got to experience it for yourself. So I give it a medium popcorn, medium Coke, candy for the missus. It's a cool movie. Like, I recommend it. It's a wild ride. You won't have seen anything like this. And yeah, go take that trip. Let me know what you think down below. God bless. Hug your mamas.